Do you like this show? Would you like to make your own? Let me tell you about Anchor. First of all, it's free. No, I'm serious. It is free. Also, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Now you can even add any song you want from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are literally endless for what you can create, whether it's music analysis, your own radio show, or something the world's never heard before. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Hey everybody, and welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. This is Katie Weaver, and I'm here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Christy Brower. Hello.
Hello. Hey, everybody. It's
So
Wednesday.
Yes, so happy to be here on Wednesday night. Case updates.
Yeah.
Did you eat your Wheaties, put on your running shoes?
Do we dare say that the case updates tonight will be voluminous?
I think we
And
do.
some of you will know exactly what that means.
I think voluminous is a great thing to say.
Right?
There is so much.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm drinking an energy drink.
Good call.
That's going to
Gonna need
help
it.
or not. We'll find out.
Well, you'll talk real fast. We know that.
Well, that's what we need. This is going to be rapid fire, auctioneer style, true crime.
Right?
We'll see. But there is a lot going on in the crime world. Oh,
Lord.
my God. I want to say hi to GB, Cranky, Barbara, Corin, Language of Horses, RJ. Welcome, everybody. And glad to see you guys here. And if you're listening later to the podcast, want to welcome you also.
Yes.
Want to leave you guys out. A lot of people listen to this show after the fact.
Yes.
They must be included. Oh, hello to Lynn and to Renee. Wait a second. Where's your sidekick? Where's the other Renee?
There's only one Renee here. I don't know what to think about that.
We're in the upside down.
Well, also, I haven't seen JR. We have RJ, but I don't see JR.
I know.
So,
well,
hopefully
concerned. The world will right itself here shortly. Though I don't know. The world's pretty effed up, so we don't know.
Yeah, let's not hold out too much hope there.
Yeah. Hey, Kira. We don't read cases on this show. This is just case updates. But we are updating the West case first, in case you're curious, because, oh my God. So here's what happened to us last night, because it's all about us. We had a different show, because we record the night before, typically. Hey, yep. Paula. But we were recording last night for today, and we were all set with our cases, with our whole episode, and then news breaks about an arrest in the West case. And we went, well, no, we've got to scrap what we're doing. We have to pick up the West case.
Right.
So we did, which is good. But at the time, what was known is that there was a warrant issued for Trezell West.
Right.
That's all we knew. We knew what the charges were. 2 charges of second-degree murder, 2 charges of willful cruelty to a child, and 1 charge of falsely reporting an emergency. That's what we knew. So we did the episode, and I swear to God, the second we hit go live on that episode, we learned that there was also duplicate charges for mom, and that they had both just been arrested and brought in. Yeah. It all happened at like the same freaking time. So in our world, it sucks when that happens, because then when people watch your episode, they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, here's how the internet works.
We did at the time. We did at the time. But then time marched on and
Mhm.
boom.
So we did in the case description, we did update it the best that we could, but that's the best you can do. I mean, the internet's forever, you know? But at any rate, so it just our heads were spinning last night. And yeah, that show has a lot of comments from people that are like, "Excuse me?" Well, we didn't know
No.
because we shared the information that was available at the time. Hey, Fran, but now there's a lot more info available. And so we want to
Right.
make sure that we share a little bit more about what has happened in this case. So if you watched the update last night, or if you've been following this case, and you may have, these little boys have been missing now for about 14 months.
Yeah.
These are two little 3 and 4-year-old little children from California City, California, who went missing purportedly right around Christmas time in 2020. The initial story was that there were 6 children in the home. 4 of them, the 4 older boys, had all been taken to grandma's house so that mom could wrap presents, and only the 2 little boys were home. And dad says that he was carrying in wood and accidentally left the gate open, and the boys supposedly went missing.
Just disappeared into the
Mhm.
ethers as children don't really do.
And these guys were on the very edge of the desert. And so this triggered a huge manhunt for these boys that went on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. The police there have been absolutely rabid. They have. And I know some people,
Yeah.
there have been frustration. It's taken a long time, but they have searched and searched. They've said in the news repeatedly, these are our kids now.
Yeah.
It made it even worse that they're adopted. We just keep hearing this lately. It is horrifying, but we can do all that another
Ugh.
day. But yep, they are adopted. 2 of the other boys in the family are adopted as well, and then there's 2 bio kids. But at any rate, so for the last 14 months, they've been searching. The parents have always been suspects. They have searched that house many times. They dug up the yard. They have interviewed everyone a million times. They have looked and they have been looking at the parents, but
Mhm.
nothing.
No.
Well, what we know now is that about 3 months ago, a grand jury was convened and more than 50 people testified. The grand jury was taken on some field trips. They met for quite a while. And that's what the result of that are these warrants. So it was a grand jury, and not
That's a
conviction, a
big
grand jury
friggin' deal, you guys.
indictment.
That is a huge.
Huge deal.
It's not just an arrest warrant, like, they are already indicted, like, there's
Mhm,
no need for a preliminary hearing, like,
mhm,
no, they are indicted, so
mhm,
this means that the prosecutor's office has a huge amount of information and a huge
mhm.
amount of evidence, because that jury would not indict without
No,
proof. They've
no.
they've got it.
So here's what we are hearing now. Well, they only kind of kept it a secret. They tried to keep it a secret, but some of the news stations in Bakersfield were sniffing it out, and I'll tell you a little bit about that here in just a minute.
But in
Uh,
general, they are grand juries are secret,
uh-huh.
and the testimony given there is sealed, like, you can't just go, like, to the
No,
repository or whatever and get that information
no.
before a trial has occurred. No, it's all sealed up.
Right. And the defense attorneys are not allowed.
Yeah, defense attorneys do not get to attend, nor do they get any of that information till it's over.
However, there was a reporter from a local Bakersfield news organization who thought that he knew what was going on. He had sniffed it out.
Mhm.
And so he showed up in the courtroom where he had heard that they would be meeting. And a bailiff came in and told him, or a court officer came in and told him, you can't stay in here because these proceedings are closed to the public, which just confirmed for him that that was the case.
Sneaky.
This was KJET News.
Mm.
And so he knew that much. And then later in that day, was able to, by continually keeping an eye on information, the public information posted saw the warrant posted, and he broke the case and took it live. That's how we knew that there were warrants before they were even arrested.
Yeah.
But they hadn't been arrested, and here's why. They're transient.
Yeah.
They've apparently been living in a motorhome. So when we talked last night about the fact that we were worried that Trezell might, hoping that he did get arrested before, he offed himself or took off or whatever, it's
Mhm.
because they were still looking for them.
Yeah.
Well, there have been all kinds of heroes in this case. And I agree with that. Call me. They had plenty of evidence a year ago. This has taken a very, very long time. It's
Mhm.
crazy.
But to
Um,
go about it, I mean, we've seen this before.
oh
We see
yeah.
this in the Daybell Vallow case. To go
Hmm.
about it this way, what they've got likely are a bunch of people who did not want to talk publicly. A bunch
Hmm.
of people that didn't want
Hmm.
anyone to know, um,
Yep.
that they were testifying, and so this is a way
Mhm.
to get people's testimony when they wouldn't testify in open court.
Otherwise. Yep. Yep. So last
Family,
night,
friends, the other kids, people
yes.
like that, they're protected this way.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, and don't forget, yeah, that there are 4 older kids. Now, we've seen some other cases recently broken by the older kids who
We have, yeah.
yapped, and we wondered if that was part of what happened here, because now the prosecutor's saying that they do believe that the boys were dead for 3 months before that 911 call was made. That was completely erroneous. Yep. They
Yeah,
are There were 4 other kids in the home. At the time that the boys went missing, the other 4 kids were taken into custody, and they have remained in custody. In fact, the state or the county has been suing Jacqueline and Trizelle for child support for those kids for months.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So last night, something pretty amazing happened. The police were looking for Trezelle. Of course, we knew that there had been charges. We didn't know about mom for a while. I'm not really sure why, but we knew about his. So there's a little post office, like, I don't know, 15-ish miles outside of Bakersfield,
Mhm.
where somebody recognized him, a patron,
Ah,
and asked him if he was Trezell West. And he said, no, he's not, but he does know Trezell. So this guy knew it was Trezell. So he followed him outside and took a picture of his motorhome and of the license plate
wow.
and posted it on the internet and also called the police. And around 7 p.m., of course, he was arrested along with Jacqueline, which is pretty amazing. This guy's an absolute hero for having
Yeah.
the presence of mind to do that. So the arraignment is tomorrow morning. We'll find out who their attorneys are at that time. At this point, there is no bail on the table, and we'll learn a little bit more. So that's, the basics of what we know. I mean, it's just huge. So we do know, of course, about the grand jury. The bodies have not been recovered yet. They are still looking. They may not ever find the bodies, but the prosecution is saying that they're still really confident in this case and that they've been
Mhm.
successful with other cases without bodies and they feel like they'll be okay.
Especially little children. I mean, they don't just run off and start a new life like all these women always do that go missing,
Yeah,
according to, ridiculous crap.
totally. Televised arraignments, hoping, Kira, really, really hoping. We don't know yet. We're going to
Yeah.
watch. Uh, Here's one thing that we learned that is just particularly disgusting. The night that Trezell supposedly was out looking for the boys before calling authorities, see what he did is he created a stink in his neighborhood, talking to the neighbors saying, My boys, they're missing," before he called the police. So that, it just looked so credible, apparently. And one of the neighbors, he told him he was looking for 2 little black dogs that got loose.
What?
Yeah.
He
Is that
called them dogs?
dogs? Really bothered the neighbor. And,
So
and
the neighbor
supposedly,
knew, like, he was referring to children? Like,
Uh,
the neighbor
he did later. I don't know that he did at the time, but
okay,
yeah, he
because that
actually
is
said he was looking for 2 little black dogs.
what
Yeah,
the hell?
instead of 2 little black boys. Yeah. Anyway, that has
Good
not set well
lord.
with people because
No.
god damn it, these people. Yeah.
Ugh.
So that's what we know. Yes, the grandparents do smell, absolutely. There is a lot of talk that there are more arrests coming, that this was the first round, and that there are more arrests coming with family members that absolutely covered for them.
Yeah.
And so that's absolutely possible. Want to thank listener
Mm.
Fran. She really helped us with information on this case because she's amazing. And
Well, and it's moving so fast.
it's
There's
moving
been
so fast.
nothing and then, like,
Yeah,
this
everything.
explosion of
Yeah,
stuff. It's,
yeah,
oh my god. But it
yeah,
it answers so many questions about why they never found any
yep.
anything of these
Any hint
kids.
of those kids.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
they were never there to begin with.
Nope.
Ugh.
So that's what we have for now on the West case. I'm going to recommend that you follow someone on YouTube called Duty Ron. Some of you probably already do, but Duty Ron is a retired New York City police officer. He really breaks down cases well. He's amazing. And he has covered this case really, really well. And so I would watch his stuff. He's done a really, really good job. Yeah,
Mm.
supposedly grandma worked for CPS. There's all kinds of stinky stuff in this case,
Yeah, there's
including CPS. And so, yeah.
right, yeah, there are rumors that because I questioned yesterday when we were talking about this, how they adopted those boys so quickly through the
Mhm,
system, and how did how did parental rights get severed as quickly as they did and adoption have I've been
mhm,
through this. It takes forever, so it
mhm.
seemed weird.
Well, and both bio dads, the little boys had different bio dads. Both bio dads claimed that they were never contacted by CPS. They were never given an opportunity to take their own boys back.
So then I don't think that adoption is even legal.
Right? What the hell really happened?
Yeah,
I think lots of heads are gonna roll in this one.
it
How do
sure
we
looks
know they
like
were
it.
killed before they were reported? Just because the prosecutor's saying so. That all we know so far because, we haven't seen the downside for the public of the, uh, grand jury is that we don't get to see a preliminary. So
Yeah.
that's where you get sometimes some bombshells, some info we didn't know in the past. We won't get that this time, but
Yeah, we won't get much of anything really.
yeah.
Because that's all trial evidence, and so they'll just hang on to it till it's
Uh-huh.
time for trial. Ugh,
Which, we want a clean and fresh jury for these fools, so
for sure, for sure.
we'll take it. But speaking of fools, Christy, will you
Mm,
please, you're not the fool, will you talk to us a little about the updates in the Daybell Vallow case?
yeah, okay, so we've got some pretty interesting things happening. So it's finally March, which means there are several hearings coming up in the Daybell Vallow,
Mhm.
debacle. The first that's coming up is that okay, so John Pryor, who is Chad Daybell's attorney, has filed a memorandum in support of motion for severance. So they want to
Oh.
sever Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow Daybell's trials.
Mm.
So they were indicted together by a grand jury,
Mhm.
and John Pryor wants to sever that joinder. So the memorandum is real light on evidence and information really at all. It's only 5 pages long. He does cite a couple of court cases, and one of the things that he brings up is that when a case is joined, if one defendant is accused of something and another defendant isn't, that could get confusing for the jury. And what he's saying is that because um, Lori is potentially, going to be charged in Arizona for um, Charles's death, God, I'm trying to remember his name, for her previous husband Charles's death, that
Mhm.
maybe that could muddy the waters. So that's really about the only thing that he gives
Mhm.
at all. So then, as is the case all the time with the prosecution in this case, it's much more well detailed. It's a 26-page brief. basically, here are the things that you have to go. No, courts support joinders. Courts want joinders.
Mhm.
Case law supports joinders for judicial economy and efficiency. So, to not have to pay for the same trial twice and to protect the defendant who goes first, because the defendant that goes second in a case that has been severed, there's they have some leg up because um they've already seen all the evidence that the
Right.
prosecution has. So it's not necessarily fair to
Mhm.
do
It's
that.
also much harder to pick a jury the second time around
It is. It
because
is.
everything's out there.
Well, and that first verdict will make it harder too,
Yep.
you know. So, that basically it's on Daybell and his attorney to bear the burden to prove that there's prejudice here. And basically they're saying there just isn't prejudice here. They're charged with the same crimes.
Mhm.
The only prejudice could be coming from that Arizona case. And basically what they're saying is that the judge will instruct the jury about
Mhm.
what they can, consider for each. But, for each defendant. But
Mhm.
they're saying really, I mean, it's not even in Idaho. It's not even, a part of this case. It's completely separate.
Right.
And so basically Pryor's just saying they're picking on us. This isn't fair.
Mhm.
And the state is saying you haven't even come close to meeting the burden
Mhm.
of proving that there is in fact prejudice. They
Right.
really they haven't. And so I don't know what's going to happen in the hearing because Pryor said that he has some things he's going to present in the moment. This is
Mhm.
the stuff they filed
Yeah.
beforehand. Then there's going to be there's some arguing back and forth, but I think, at this point, it's very unlikely that they're gonna get it. I had said at
Mhm.
one point that I thought it might be a good thing. I still kinda do, only because Chad could get tried and out of the way,
Mhm.
because we don't know how long Lori's gonna be in the hospital.
Right.
But reading these and looking at what the burden of evidence is, I think it's really unlikely that the severance is going to be granted
Mhm.
because Pryor has not met his burden of proof at all.
Yeah.
And the state can come back and show over and over and over again why this case, is a great, candidate for
Mhm.
and it was joined correctly in the first place by the grand jury, and the courts are pretty unwilling
Yeah.
to undo a decision like that unless there's a really good reason. The thing is, these guys are charged with the same crimes. It's not as
Right.
though, like, one of them is charged with something that the other one isn't charged with. No, that's
Right.
not the case. They are charged with exactly the same things.
Mhm.
So, I don't think this is gonna be successful for Pryor,
Interesting.
looking at it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, over and over, his whole argument is, "This is very prejudicial,"
Yeah, he just keeps saying it, and
which
that's
is
what
dead air. Yeah.
right, and that's what the prosecutor says is that, like, just saying it doesn't make it true, like, you need actual
Right.
proof that this is the case, and
Mhm.
the thing is it isn't necessarily prejudicial
Mhm.
at all, really, to
Right.
be charged with exactly the same crimes. So,
Yep.
yeah,
Pryor is a much better attorney than Mark Means. However, he
he's
is
still not a
so
great one.
outmatched by this prosecutorial team, it's just not even funny.
He is very much so. I mean, the difference in these 2 briefs is crazy,
Mhm.
crazy.
Though I would
Um,
imagine that nearly everything was spelled correctly.
yes, yes, it was. It
There
was
is
very
that.
close. Yeah. So GB, no. What we're talking about with the severance would just simply mean would they be tried separately for the crimes that they've committed?
Right.
Or that
Same
the
crimes.
crimes, yeah, for the same crimes.
Mhm.
What the state wants and the judge wants and what the law really supports is that they will be tried together.
Mhm. It'll be interesting to see, just on the same note, will the Wests have a joinder? I would imagine yes.
Mm,
Do the Crumbleys or will the Crumbleys have a joinder? I'm going to assume yes.
mhm.
They might already. I'm not sure if
I
they're
think
there
they
yet.
already do because they are now indicted.
Right. Yes, that's a part of tonight. In fact,
Yeah, they
thanks
are
for the
going to
lead in
trial,
because that's where we're headed.
right?
Speaking of other fools, let's talk about the Crumblies. Two big rulings in Crumblies cases this week. The first of which is Ethan, because
Mhm.
his attorneys have been arguing that they wanted him to be returned to a juvenile facility because he's been being held in an adult facility. And holy shit, no. Every time they go back to court, that ends up with the prosecutor having to roll out a little bit more of what they have.
Right.
And there were some barn burners in this one. A few things that we know from Ethan's journal is that, and from some texts that he sent, are that he had been practicing with Molotov cocktails at home,
Oh my god.
considering just using Molotov cocktails and just trying to bomb the shit out of his school.
My god.
We know that he found 8 baby birds in the woods near his house and slowly tortured them to death.
God.
And we know that he had hoped to kill as many people as humanly possible at his school.
God.
So basically, and I'll give you a little bit more when I talk about the parents because kind of this info really overlapped this week in their
Mhm.
two appearances in court, Ethan's and his folks. But at any rate, basically the judge said it's just so inappropriate to try and put this kid in a juvenile facility because he's absolutely dangerous
Yeah.
and we can't keep other kids safe from him. So no, he has to stay where he's at. But he has managed to communicate with the public several times a day, including emails he's receiving from across the globe. Yuck.
Why are
Emails
they
of
allowing that?
support this boy is receiving. Support, for Christ's sake.
We are living in the upside down.
Oh my God. Yep. They said that he is eating, reading books, playing video games, talking to others, watching TV, and basically just doing just fine where he's at. And there's no reason to move him and put other people at risk. So that was the ruling. He will stay put.
Jeez.
But we learned more about the journal in Jennifer and James's trip to court. So they were in court this week as well to decide whether or not they are going to be held over to stand trial.
Yeah, preliminary hearing.
Survey says, yeah,
Yes, they are.
they're going. But I wanted to share a few things from his journal that was shared in court because holy hell. Here's a few things that he said. And mom and dad are just sobbing it up, you guys. They're just crying, both of them, like on cue. I mean, I know they're not supposed to talk to each other in court now, but they are side by side. They're just flanking one of the attorneys. And the tears, oh my God, the drama.
Mm.
You would almost think that they're sad that they're being charged. But
Not sad for what their child has done.
no, hell no. It's just sad that
They're
they
sad
are
they're
in
in trouble.
so much trouble, especially when they heard all this today. So here's their little tears flowing. And here's why. This is what was read when they were crying from Ethan's journal. I'm sorry for this, mom and dad. I'm not trying to hurt you by doing this. I have to do this. I hope my parents can forgive me for what I have to do. I will cause the biggest school shooting in Michigan's history. I will kill everyone I fucking see. I have fully mentally lost it after years of fighting my dark side. My parents won't listen to me about help or a therapist. The
Mm.
first victim has to be a pretty girl with a future so she can suffer like me.
Oh
I have zero help with my mental problems and it's causing me to shoot the school. My parents won't listen to me.
my god.
Yep. It's right there
It's right there. It's right in front of their freaking faces. How was he practicing Molotov cocktails at home?
because he was home alone all the time.
Yeah, because nobody was paying any attention to him. Can you imagine finding out that your son has been practicing with Molotov cocktails?
Yeah.
I mean, would I be surprised that a teenage boy would try something dumb like that? No, I would not, because I have raised one. How
Lots of teenage boys have tried stuff like that, but
right.
not because they were planning on using them on their school.
No, and Like, he's practicing them alone at home?
Mm,
I mean, talk about paying no attention. My god.
none. It's just so sick. So, big news though. And yeah, I'm sure they were crying. That sounds real bad for them.
Surely does.
And I'm sure there's plenty of regret now that they never actually bothered to listen to their son and take care of him. But they weren't home. They were busy affairs. They were busy working. They were busy playing with their horses. And honestly, I think they were some of these people who don't trust authority, don't trust doctors, don't trust, doing things like, mental health care.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is what's up there.
I mean, if they are not the poster child for what every parent better be figuring out about their own kid, you
Yeah.
know, holy crap, their culpability is just unbelievable.
Yeah. It's just never ending. And I mean, if there were ever a more damning statement than what's written right there in that journal, I don't know what is.
Right.
Yep.
Right. A kid who literally has tried to get help and has been ignored to this point.
Hmm.
God.
It's unthinkable. So, moving on from that, because there is still so much more to go over tonight, there is a little bit of movement. Well, not movement, I guess, but there's a little bit going on with Breonna Taylor. Christy, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Oh,
Okay, I have to say this. Yes, Cranky. And then they purchased him a firearm.
yeah.
Yes, after they knew, or should have known. Then they purchased him a firearm. My God. Okay, go ahead.
Hang on one second. I just got paywalled.
Oh, Paula said, "Do you think if he had gotten treatment, he could have been helped?" Sure. Sure. Yes.
Well, I think that he yeah, I mean, I think that he could have, I don't know, not murdered kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what's going on right now in Breonna Taylor is that there's an officer in court, and no one's been charged with her death. This isn't about her death,
Mm-mm.
but it's partially. So, there was an officer who fired on fellow officers after she was shot.
Yeah.
Shot another officer in the leg. This guy is Brett Hankinson. And what he said is that he thought that when the police were firing on Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend, that they were being fired on, not firing on. If you know what I'm saying? So like
Right.
they're
Wait.
shooting at Brianna and her
Mhm.
husband, her boyfriend, and this officer takes that to mean that Brianna, the people in the apartment are firing on the cops, and he
Mhm.
fires and he shoots another cop.
I don't think he did hit another cop.
Didn't he? In the leg?
No. What he did is he shot a bunch of bullets into the neighboring apartment.
No, officer shot another officer in leg.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing something
Yeah,
different than you are. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
it's okay. Yeah, he shot him in the leg, shot another officer in the leg because he starts firing because he
Mhm.
thinks they're getting fired on because he hears all this gunfire.
Mhm.
Let's just think about that for a moment. He
Yep.
hears all this gunfire. He has he immediately thinks they're being fired on. Not that the police that are in front of him, because this is a whole like
Mhm.
team of
Yeah.
SWAT or whatever. Right, the neighbor
Yeah.
apartment did have bullets through the wall, that did
Mhm.
happen, but he
Yeah.
did actually also hit a fellow officer because his first thought was they were getting fired at, not
Mhm.
that his officers ahead of him would have been firing into this apartment.
Yeah.
It's
These guys
ridiculous.
just went full on Wild West. Just
Well, they
shoot
did,
him. Just
and
shoot
this
him.
guy is the only person to face any
Mhm.
charges over any of
Yeah.
this, and it's not about Breonna Taylor's murder or
Yeah.
about the injury to her boyfriend. This is
Yeah.
about him basically friendly fire.
Mhm.
It's ridiculous. Makes me
Yeah.
really mad. Like, he's an
It's
idiot.
insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah. It was dark and he was outside He said he was firing towards the muzzle flashes he was seeing.
Because as you do, I mean, what
Yeah,
the hell are you doing, dude?
yeah,
He doesn't know who he's firing at or
mhm,
who's firing initially,
yeah,
just makes an assumption. And
yeah,
this is the guy that goes to jail. Like,
mhm.
uh,
It's
he's an
insane,
idiot.
just insane. He does, say in the trial that's going on currently that, a lot of things went wrong that night.
Yes, yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah, I could make a list right now.
Mhm. That's a mess. Okay. Well, we have 2 cases right now of jurors that, are probably going to cause retrials or maybe.
Right.
So, I'm gonna do Scott Peterson. Will you please talk about Maxwell?
I surely will.
Are you
Do you want
ready?
well, go ahead.
Okay. So, this is Scott Peterson, and his attorneys, of course, are pushing really hard for a new trial because of one of the freaking jurors.
Yeah.
And she, oh my God, it's so frustrating. This is Rochelle Nice. Rochelle started writing Scott Peterson after the trial and asking him questions like, why do men cheat? Because she had a boyfriend that cheated on her and she was still really hurting about it. Well, she is now being accused of being biased against Peterson because of that affair. And it's being used against her and against the courts essentially to try to force a new trial. And she also apparently in the hearing, in on the questionnaire, and she, by the way, has been given good Lord, what's the right word?
Immunity?
Yes, thank you. My God, too much in my head. She's been given immunity. So now she can just say whatever without getting in trouble because she lied on her jury questionnaire. The jury questionnaires are killing us lately in court, killing us because people are either
Right.
not forthcoming, whether they don't understand them or they don't want to understand them or why. Anyway, one of the questions on the questionnaire is if you have been involved in any kind of legal proceedings or crime or anything of that sort,
Mhm.
or a victim of a crime or involved in a lawsuit. And she said no. But that wasn't true. In 2000 and 2001, she was involved in a domestic dispute with her then boyfriend, and then another dispute with his ex girlfriend. She actually reached out for a restraining order at the time because she feared for her unborn child, and she didn't disclose any of that.
Yeah.
So she said she didn't feel like she was a victim in either of those disputes, and that's why she didn't disclose it in the jury selection process. But they're leaning heavily on that to try to get Scott Peterson a new trial.
Which is just absolutely terrifying.
It
I mean,
is, and a lot of experts think he's probably going to get it. Yep.
to put
So great.
her family through that, it's just my god, you
Yep.
know?
Yep. Unbelievable. But in other cases of jury nightmares, tell us
Mhm.
what's going on with the Maxwell case.
Okay, so we've all heard about this, we've talked about it quite a bit. This is juror number 50 who just did not disclose on his questionnaire that he had been sexually abused as a child. So then right after the her conviction, he goes right out onto the talk show circuit like an idiot,
Yeah. Like
talking
a
about
like a superstar.
yeah, like he thought he was real special and so he goes out and talking about that and he says that he was molested as a child and so this case really affected him. Then he talks about how he talked to the other jurors about that and told them about it. And so now
Mhm.
they're saying that, this could be reason for a retrial. They may have to try her again because of this. So right now what's happening is that um the judge has set a hearing because he wants to question juror 50 under oath. He or she. Wait. Is this a
It's a
anyway,
he.
the judge. We have so many cases right now, and there are several female judges. So anyway,
That's true.
so his attorney, juror 50's attorney, has put a letter into the court that says, I write to inform the court that juror 50 will invoke his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination at the hearing. So he's basically just going to plead the fifth and not talk. So now the prosecutors have sent the judge another letter. The government writes to notify the court that it is in the process of seeking internal approval to seek an order pursuant to federal law compelling juror 50's testimony at the hearing. So
Mhm.
basically what it would do is if he did give testimony that he would be protected from charging him for making a false statement, because nobody's trying to go after him, really. They're
Yeah.
just trying to decide, do they have to retry Ghislaine Maxwell? Which just makes me feel sick to think that.
Mhm. Yep. It's awful.
No.
It's awful. Yep.
It is. So, it's just going to depend on what the judge thinks. I mean, he's going to
Mhm.
talk to this guy on Tuesday and see if he thinks that this was enough to hurt the whole situation. These questionnaires, God.
It just goes to show how important they are, that you're honest, and
Yeah.
clear, and don't perjure yourself or do something stupid. Oh, it's very frustrating.
Well, and the
Uh,
jurors are supposed to keep their mouths shut after a big trial like that.
right. Just
Mm,
don't.
yeah,
Don't hit the talk show circuit for Christ's sake.
yeah.
Yeah, awful.
So, yeah,
Was
that's a really disheartening one, I think.
I think so too. Well, I'm going to change gears and talk a little about Serenity McKinney. So, if you guys remember, we covered the Serenity McKinney missing child case here a few weeks ago, and shortly thereafter, her body was found buried in the woods. So,
Yeah,
her mother and mother's boyfriend, this was in Kentucky, when the police started leaning and looking for this child, who was another one of those 4-year-olds that's been missing for like 6 months or more, a year maybe with her. They're not quite sure. Uh, the autopsy hasn't been released yet. So we don't know how long Serenity's actually been dead, but it's been easily 6 to 8 months, maybe more. But they fled and were picked up in Kansas and extradited back to Kentucky. Well, they finally stood in front of the courts today. And in court, we discovered something that we had heard rumor of and talked a little bit about, that mom is 7 months pregnant.
yes.
This is Catherine McKinney. She actually goes by Abby, but that's her official name, and Dakota Hill. So they stood in front of the judge. Sorry, not today, yesterday. They both pled not guilty. There's $1 million bond for each of them right now. The charges are murder and abuse of a corpse. So Abby's public defender asked the judge to diminish her bond to 20,000 so that she could get out of jail, so that she can get the medical care she needs, because she is 20 or 7 weeks. I almost said 20 weeks or 20 months. Anyway, she's 7 months pregnant. She's not 20 months pregnant. She might feel like it right now.
Mm-hmm.
7 months pregnant. So she should get out. She should get out. I mean, she only just killed one kid, so let's let her out right now.
Yeah, definitely she needs to be held, and an
Mhm.
eye kept on her, and that baby needs to go somewhere safe.
Yeah. So the judge said pass. So they are both going to stay in jail at $1 million bonds,
Good.
and we'll be seeing more of them soon. So at least in Serenity's case, they have found a body. It still makes me wonder, where is Harmony Montgomery?
Where is Harmony Montgomery? God damn it.
And also, where is Oakley Carlson?
Yeah.
We also covered Oakley Carlson recently. This is in Oakville, Washington. And there's a little bit of new information that the investigators have put out in her case. So there's just some bullet points that they put out, so I'm going to share them. They said Oakley was reported missing after deputies arrived at her family's home on December 6th, 2021, to perform a welfare check. That's important. After they came to do a welfare check, they went, "Oh, yeah, and also our daughter's gone missing."
Yeah. What the hell?
Investigators say she was last seen February 2021 in Oakville, Washington. We know that Oakley's parents are facing charges of child neglect in connection with Oakley's older sister. Oakley's older sister required specialized medical care and growth hormones
Oh,
that
right.
they had
Yes.
not given her in 18 months.
Oh my God.
We also know that no one has been charged yet with Oakley's disappearance. They haven't charged them. I'm sure they're working on it and building a case,
Mm-hmm.
but right now they're holding them on other charges because that's what they have. So those were the things that were just recently, just this week, released. I think it's just some clarification, really. But where in the world is Oakley Carlson? They have been searching the woods. They were living in a house that belonged to a relative on something like 30 or 40 acres or more. It was a big acreage. And I know they've been searching those woods for this poor little girl, but we don't know yet what's going to happen there. But that's the update in that case. Good question. Where is Cody Bigsby? And no
Yep.
movement on his case this week. Where is Summer Wells? We know Don Wells has been in trouble again for DUI. I think that's all we know right now.
Yeah.
But do we ever get psychic info about these cases? I think you refrain from them because they're unsolved and for the families. Yeah. And yeah, we
Yeah.
do.
We do.
We do,
We
and
do.
those are things that we, if because Christy and I both read professionally, and people come to us for, professionally for this work, and we do read for them that way. But yeah, it ethically, and I know you guys have seen it in some of the other cases as of late, some psychics who get really gross about these cases, really attention seeking, really off topic,
Yeah.
uh, and do and say very, very hurtful things for the families that are going through these things. We just don't wanna be that person. So,
No,
yeah, we've
we
been
don't.
really
So we just
careful.
don't do it.
And I'm sure sometimes people don't like what we do and say too. I mean, I get it. This is true crime sucks, and it's, it's interesting and it's we all like it. It's why we're here, but at the same time, this is hard stuff to talk about and hear about
Mm-hmm.
sometimes.
It
So,
is.
anyway, yeah. I don't know if we're classy or we're just, I don't know what.
I don't know.
You know what it is? Go ahead.
Oh, well, we just both, we've done this kind of work for a long time,
Mhm,
and there's an ethical way to do it and an
mhm,
unethical way to do it, and we both, personally
mhm,
have strong ethics, and we don't
mhm.
we wanna help situations, not hurt them,
Yeah.
and we wanna help people and not
Mhm.
hurt them, and that's
And
why we are doing this the way that we do it.
and sometimes just sharing information like this is the best way,
It
you
is.
know? Sometimes
Mhm.
putting focus on missing persons cases or just like with all of us, really exploring the judicial system and understanding it more. How
Yeah.
many of you guys have been completely blown away since you started studying true crime about what you didn't know about our judicial system? Because I
Right.
can tell you I have been. Wow.
Right. About the way the system works and about the way the system is supposed to work, the way versus the way it does,
Mhm,
and how there's really more than one system depending on the color of your skin
mhm,
and, the
mhm.
balance in your bank account, like
Thank
there's
you.
a huge difference. And
Yeah.
all we can do is learn and understand. It helps to, if
Mhm.
we understand it, then we can exact change on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Where are we? Oh, how about let's talk about the Bingham County Sheriff's case.
Oh, can we? Can we? Because this is funny. You guys probably remember we covered this case a while back I think it was in a segment. This is Bingham County Sheriff Craig Rowland. This is the county that borders the county I live in.
Mhm,
And so he was charged. There was an incident that happened in front of his house in November where an adult with some young girls were doing a church activity, and they put a note on his door that was a thankful turkey. And the note was for his wife.
right. Wasn't even for this asshole. Yeah.
No, and he came out and he freaked out at them.
Mm.
The woman in the car with the girls, he grabbed her by her hair, he pointed a handgun at her, threatened the kids.
Put a handgun on the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Waving his
Threatened
gun around
all of them.
in the car.
And yeah, he's just a real jackass. So he had
Mhm,
a preliminary hearing and has been held over to district court for trial. So this is a big thing that's going on here because he's a
mhm.
local sheriff.
And he is still the sheriff, guys.
Yes, he is still the sheriff. He is on administrative leave
Mhm,
until this is resolved. They're not
mhm,
going to remove him
mhm,
unless he's convicted, even though he said some really racist, ignorant stuff after this
mhm.
happened that
Yeah,
caused a lot all kinds of
mhm.
people called for him to resign
Yeah, about the
immediately.
local, Indian reservation. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and the tribal council wanted him to resign, and
Mhm.
so does the mayor and the city council and the chief of police, and, like,
Oh,
everyone's like, see
yeah.
ya. Your time is up here." He is refusing to resign,
Mhm,
and they're waiting to see if he's going to be convicted, but we're one step closer
mhm,
because he has now been indicted and held over for trial,
mhm.
so
His attorneys say, "This is just a political witch hunt. They just don't like him."
are you freaking
Yeah,
kidding me? The woman that he threatened is his next door neighbor, and
yeah,
he was in such a freak out, he
mhm,
didn't even recognize her.
yeah,
Like, the dude is unhinged. He
mhm.
needs to be done.
He sure should not have guns. Yep,
Yeah, no, definitely should not have guns. He has had to turn over his guns for now.
he has. Yep,
Was part of it.
yep. Oh, yes, his defense said it was self-defense, and the girls were guilty of illegal entry because they opened the screen door to put a note on the front door.
Oh, for hell's
Can
sake.
you
So then
imagine?
so then every person out putting out political flyers is guilty of illegal entry because they open your screen door? No.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was he drunk, cranky? It's a really good question. He opened the door. He was wearing long underwear, for Christ's sake, and screamed at his
This
wife to
is
get his
Idaho.
gun. Mhm. Which she did, of course, being, I'm sure, his long-suffering wife,
Ugh.
heavy on the suffering.
Mhm.
It's so wild. Yeah. So we'll keep following it because, well, we think it's just desserts for him.
Yeah, we want this dude out of law enforcement in our community for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
wouldn't
Wouldn't. Oh,
someone
yeah.
open your screen door to knock on the door? Yes. That is not illegal entry.
Right. It's
That is
so
not
indefensible that that's what they came up with. I mean, is
yeah.
Mark Means on this case?
Well,
Come
and
on,
this was a
man.
group of teenage girls out doing something nice for women in their community. Like,
Mhm.
they didn't have one damn thing to do with this dude anyway.
Nope,
So,
not at
yeah,
all.
it's really screwed up. But
Mhm.
yeah,
He's getting his.
he's going to trial. So,
Yeah.
we're glad to see that.
Yep, he's getting his. I can't believe he's still the sheriff, however.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He says he's elected by the people, and if the people don't want him here, then they can do something about it. Otherwise, he's not going anywhere.
Mm,
Here's the thing. This is a community. I don't know what the statistic is in Blackfoot. This is in Blackfoot, Idaho. But I would imagine Blackfoot is somewhere around 80 to 85% Mormon.
mhm,
And these were Mormon ladies that he
yeah,
attacked like that. And the voters aren't going to be having this, bro. They're
no,
not. Birds of a feather flock together, and they're not going to support you when you attack their teenagers with a gun
right.
while they were on a church service outing. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's
this
only
is
in Idaho, Fran, right? Good
yep.
lord. So there's that. Oh, Susan Powell. The We've been talking for weeks now about them. The guys that were digging up the mine and brought up a bunch of stuff and had some bones and some clothing tested, hoping to have found Susan Powell. Sadly, it was not Susan. The
Yeah,
bones really were animal bones, and the DNA on the pants matched men, not women.
yeah.
So not Susan, sadly, but,
No,
her family has been so gracious and sweet about it and just so grateful that people are still talking about Susan and looking for Susan and still give a shit about Susan. So,
right.
I think all in all, it's been a good thing, and I
Mhm,
big props to the guys that really tried, and they spent a ton of money and time
they did.
looking for Susan. So, hey, you know what? Yeah.
It's at least a good testament to her.
Yes.
that people still care that she be found,
Yep.
you
And
know?
just still remember that she existed and she matters.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Okay. Uh, on Monday, we talked about Mason Dominguez. He's the little guy that was found
Mm,
in the freezer in Las Vegas. We had said we'd update that case because the mom's boyfriend that was charged in this was in court on Monday morning. And the only thing that happened is that nothing. He was just arraigned. Uh, he
yeah,
didn't. Uh, he didn't plea and they didn't offer any bail. So there's no bond. He's just still in jail and he'll be back in court soon. So that's really the only movement in that case.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Christy, what have I missed?
Gosh, our list was so big. Let me see if we've missed anything. We wanted to get through it all. It's just crazy how
Mhm. Oh,
mm
Barry Morphew.
oh, Barry Morphew. Yes, I was gonna say there's one more.
Yeah. Let's see. Were you doing Morphew or was I?
You were.
Okay, let me get to it. Oh, that's right. Okay. So the Morphew case just keeps getting dumber, and we have said all along that we were very worried that Barry Morphew would be acquitted because the prosecutor has not done a good job.
No.
And it's really, really chaotic and disorganized. And they have made some really serious mistakes. And it's worrisome because I think most people still think that Barry Morphew is guilty, but they're not proving it very well.
No, not
So
at all.
right now, they are in court, trying to decide if they should just throw the whole thing out. And of course, fighting back and forth on that. One of the lead investigators, this story, I swear to Christ, these people. One of the lead investigators accidentally shot himself in the hand at his own house off duty a while ago. And because of that, there was an internal affairs interview, you know,
Yeah,
to decide if this person, should have a gun anymore. That's
right.
my opinion, but I don't know. But at any rate, when you shoot your hand off, dummy, anyway.
Yeah,
So, in that internal affairs interview, he said why they were talking about Barry Morphew at this time, I don't know, but he said that he believed that charging Barry was utter nonsense
yeah,
and that it is the biggest mistake and the worst decision that could have been made because there was absolutely not enough evidence to go to court with, and that he had told the prosecutor he did not believe that they should be charging anyone at this point. They didn't have enough evidence to do any of that, and they just went ahead and went forward with it. So that, of course, is now coming up in court. In the defense's claims that all this exculpatory evidence wasn't turned over to them, at
right.
least in a timely manner. There is DNA evidence from Suzanne's car from a known serial rapist in the area, or potentially. That's kind of a hairy conversation,
Yeah,
but
because there's not a lot of DNA there.
and they're grandstanding on it pretty good. Anyway, it's worrisome. It is
It's
worrisome.
super worrisome.
Mhm.
Well, and for it to come out publicly that some of the investigators think it was a huge mistake to charge him and that, like,
Mhm.
oh,
Mhm.
I don't know what's going on over there in Fremont County, Colorado, but it's not good.
No, it is not good. It's not good. We have lead investigators shooting themselves in the hand.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a huge red flag. But but then to say so that it gets out publicly that this was a huge mistake and,
Mhm. Great. So good. Thank you.
yes.
Yeah. So that's what's up with that case. I just have one more thing. This is not funny, but it made me laugh, so I'm going to share it with you.
Mm,
You guys know that I sometimes have terrible humor. Uh, Here's the part that's not funny. Barry Madoff's sister,
oh,
or
yes.
Bernie, sorry, Bernie Madoff's sister and husband have killed themselves
Yes.
in a murder suicide plot.
Well, I guess not killed themselves. One of them was murdered.
One of them was murdered. Yeah. They were 87 and 90 years old.
Oh my God.
They were victims of him.
Yeah.
They lost $3 million to him. A lot of their family lost money to him or were kind of a part of what he did. He died in prison last year at the age of 82. I mean, these are all really elderly people.
Right.
So, but yes. So her name was Sandra Weiner, and his name was Marvin Weiner. And that's not funny.
No. You're right. That's not funny.
But here's what is funny. Sandra's brother-in-law also worked for Madoff Securities and was sentenced to 10 years in prison for his involvement in this Ponzi scheme. And I am not kidding you. His name is Peter Weiner.
I was waiting for it to be Harry, but Peter works too.
Who names their kid Peter Weiner?
Right? Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, it's not funny, but that part just about killed me. Anyway, that's all. Sometimes in true crime, you have to find something to laugh about.
Yes, you
Yes,
do.
Linda, they did think that Barry was going to try and skip the country, and that's probably why they jumped the gun. Agreed. Well, and he's been so arrogant and like
Oh
they
my
just wanted
God.
to get him, you know?
Yeah.
For
Because
sure.
he's been such an insufferable jackass, but
Yeah.
Peter Weiner.
Yeah, Anthony Weiner, who couldn't, leave his wiener alone and keep his wiener in
Right.
his
Like
pants and quit sending pictures of his wiener. Yeah.
texting it out. Yeah.
I think maybe if your last name is Weiner, the time has come. Go ahead into court and change it. Yeah.
Or just go with
And
Weiner.
that's
I
just
don't
cruel
know.
of his parents, right?
It is.
Yep. I
Oh
agree.
my goodness.
Well, I think we did it.
I think we did.
That was some rapid fire crime.
Yes, it was.
So, and there's lots more out there, but this is what we could pack into this episode. I just kept sending Christy more, and I know she was going, my God.
I was like, huh. I'm trying to read all the Daybell briefs because they're long, and like, oh my God, so much
Yeah.
stuff.
So much. We're going to be back tomorrow for the psychic hour at 7 p.m. Mountain. I do have some really fun show and tell, but I knew I just couldn't get through it tonight because, well, we just had too much going on.
Right.
So I'll have some fun show and tell for you
Oh,
tomorrow
cool.
night.
Well, good.
And that'll be great. And then, of course, we'll have all of new episodes next week, all of our good stuff happening. I'm going to be gone next week. We'll have all of our episodes in place, but Christy, you will be on your own for the psychic hour.
I'm going to be flying.
Case updates.
I might have Rhonda here with me, but I don't know for sure if I will or not for the psychic hour. It might just be me. So we'll see.
Yeah, lots happening. So, yes, and thank you for covering for me. I appreciate you. Yes, you're right, GB. It is dragons. That's all I do now is just true crime and print dragons. It's not a bad life.
I mean, why not?
Right? I eat snacks. Yeah, that's it.
There you go.
All righty, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Please be well. Take good care of yourselves. It's a weird time in the world, so make sure that you are getting what you need. This has been yet another production of True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Take care.
Bye, everybody.